I'll break this question into two parts. One is what is it for us, for India? First, this connects your biggest markets to you. Remember, India's biggest markets are to the west of us, not to the east. The Gulf, the Levant. This is the spread of your big market. Just look at the route of the IMEC. Goes through Jordan, port of Haifa, to Piraeus in Greece, which is an interesting point, which I will tell you later. Includes Italy, and it will also include Cyprus, because the basically spanning the Eastern Mediterranean, the Gulf, the Levant, and the Eastern Mediterranean. Connectivity in this area is very important from a trade commercial point of view. Strategically, you are connecting a part of what we now call in foreign policy trusted geographies. Back in the year 2000, Prime Minister Vajpayee used to say that India's neighborhood extends till the Gulf of Aden. We have now, in 20 years, 2 decades later, we have extended it a little further to Eastern Mediterranean. That's our strategic neighborhood. So that also tells you how your footprint has expanded, but it tells you how much more confident you have become of your own place in this region. The other part of the answer is that this is a region that used to be really volatile. The world is now taking advantage of the Abraham Accords between Israel and the Arab states. And by bringing Saudi Arabia and Israel into this, we are hoping that economics will do what politics couldn't, which is deliver just and lasting peace in Israel, between Israel and Palestine, between Israel and the premier Arab countries, not just politically, but via economics. And then to Eastern Mediterranean. Now it's interesting, as I said, I talked about Piraeus, the port in Greece. Piraeus was built by China. It was China's beachhead, if you will, into Europe. For this corridor to be using Piraeus, the port, interesting. Second, Italy. Italy has just quit the BRI and has just joined this corridor. Also interesting. So yeah, I think this has a lot of promise. It's literally where the I2U2 should be going.
We have an opportunity to strengthen alliances around the world to maintain stability. That's what this trip is all about. Having India cooperate much more with the United States, be closer with the United States, Vietnam being closer with the United States. It's not about containing China. It's about having a stable base in the Indo-Pacific.
I don't think the idea of this is to hurt China's interests. I think the idea of this is to make it workable, to make it efficient, to make it sort of implementable. The thing is, China uses its BRI for its own foreign policy, for Chinese foreign policy. Here, we are all on an equal footing. I mean, the UAE will bring in the big funds. India will bring in the technological expertise. India is already part of the food corridor. It's the source of the food corridor that goes through this. Israel brings in other technologies. Saudi Arabia brings in money, doesn't bring in technology, but definitely brings in money and brings in the political heft in that region. If you look at the economic output of the Central Asian states compared with the economic output of the Gulf Arab states, not so much the Levant, because Syria is in the doldrums, but Iraq has become the premier source of oil now. Saudi Arabia, of course, UAE, Kuwait, definite, Bahrain, definitely. So if you look at the collective GDP of these states versus the collective GDP of the others, I think there is a difference. There is a value addition that comes here. In the China project, it would be Chinese companies building the entire thing. In this, it is the collaborative effort. It will be India, it will be the UAE. There is already a plan of a UAE corridor, that rail corridor that goes across the Gulf, and we will be tacking on to that. And private sector, there's private sector participation. I mean, Adani is the owner of the Haifa port. Ultimately, it will be the private sector that will be doing. Private sector will be doing it, but with government blessing. Once there is government blessing, then the private sector feels more comfortable entering, new geographies. If you track business delegations, you will find more and more business delegations from India teaming up with the UAE guys, with the Israelis, and I don't know, not so much the Saudis yet, but with the other Gulf guys, just finding connections in business, knowing that they work under the kind of political support that their governments give this project. And that's important. Frankly, the US's job really is two things. One is a strategic guarantor, if you will, because the US is the primary partner for almost all the countries in this region, the big countries, whether it's Israel, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's UAE, whether it's India. So in a sense, the US helps to keep all the partners together. It's the strategic glue, if you will. It helps the US enormously, because the US is basically making what I call a strategic re-entry into the region, but in a different avatar. Earlier, the US was the country that, for reasons of energy, financed Saudi Arabia's excesses, financed other Gulf countries, and didn't care about very much else. But the US is no longer, let's say, a popular partner in that region. This gives them an ability to a strategic re-entry into this region. That's one. And that is, if you go back to 2021, when the I2U2 was conceptualized and set up between the US, India, UAE, and Israel, strategic connectivity was the big point of that particular grouping. What I started by calling it the Quad West, but nobody picked it up, so it became I2U2. So yes, I mean, if you look at that particular grouping, this is literally the next stage of the I2U2.